Hi, I'm Danny.
And I'm Diane, and we'd like to welcome you to
Last Orders.
Okay.
So, welcome back. And today we've got Alison with us from Carlisle Brewing Co. So we're talking all things cask ales today.
Yes. In fact, we're starting with the Citadel from Carlisle Brewing. I've already started mine.
Cheers.
So, but cheers, ladies.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about Citadel?
So that was me just about to take a slab. Right. Citadel's probably one of the earlier recipes that we did. So it is a 3.8, so a very nice sort of crisp hoppy light beer, nice session beer.
Brilliant.
So,
Very good.
yeah. And obviously called after local landmark.
Yes, of course. Yeah, I hadn't even clicked that before. How stupid. How stupid am I?
Wow, we have to learn this sometimes.
Yeah, okay. Learned something new already. Okay, so I was reading, part of the reason for this little episode was I was reading a report from SEBA last week, and it said that independent brewery beers only account for about 10% of the beer market.
Probably sounds about right.
Sound about right? However, 60% of people who were asked said they would choose a local beer by choice if that was available to them.
Good on them.
So that sounded
We
like
like
quite a difference in terms of the market share and what people were wanting. Mm-hmm. So I thought we'd bring Alison along and find out about our local beer. We usually have one of your beers on tap in one of our two pubs. So yeah.
Perfect. Well, can you tell us a little bit more about Carlisle Brewing?
So it is quite simply myself and my husband Alan.
Oh, right.
Still. Although we do have a little bit of help now. We do have somebody that comes in to help us do a bit of cleaning and shifting things around and things like that. But basically, so let's see, where does it go back to? So 2007, we decided to be completely idiotic, gave up our lives and bought the Spinner's Arms in Cumbersdown. So we bought the pub. Yeah, so that's coming up 18. It'll be 18 years on the 16th of June.
It's a long time.
Yeah.
A long time.
There's a lot more grey hairs and wrinkles now than there used to be. An awfully long time. Not sure that we actually ever expected to be in there that long. I think we were probably given about 18 weeks when we first moved in, but we've proved them wrong. We had the pub for a while, and obviously, as you'll probably know yourselves, it was kind of like we were in 18 months and it went into recession. The whole world went into recession. It was a typical sort of small little wet-led village pub. We didn't do a massive amount of food at that point.
Great little pub though.
Oh, it's a lovely
If you
pub.
haven't been, go and visit.
Thank you. Almost as nice as the Crown. She says. No, I mean it is a lovely little pub. But it was just one of those things where it's sort of like everything went really really difficult for a while. I think right across the board, not just with us, and we just tried to work out what we could do. So if you know Cumbersdale, it's obviously right on the outskirts of Carlisle. Pretty much now it's getting absorbed in, but we didn't need a shop. We didn't need a post office. I'm sure the locals would have loved us to have done that, but it wasn't going to be practical. There wasn't going to be space for anything. And we were having a look at things like Pub is the Hub. So we were looking at people who'd set up sort of like bowling alleys and cinemas and all this kind of stuff. And it's kind of like the Spinners is a one-room, very small bar, and it was just like, this isn't going to work. No. So we ummed and ahed for quite a number of years as what we were going to do, and eventually. Because we both really like real ale, and we'd kind of built that side of things up, we were sort of thinking, what could we do down that kind of route? And we were really lucky in the fact that we found a little bit of grant funding, right, which helped us set up a very, very small brewery on site in 2013.
And neither of you had ever done any brewing before that?
Not at that scale.
No.
We'd done bits and pieces of home brewing over the years. Yeah, we'd done. Alan had done a fair bit of, sort of starting off with the kits that you used to get years and years ago, to which you would always add more sugar to make it stronger. But it says a lot about the beers that we make now, really, I suppose. But yeah, it was something that we'd done a lot of drinking and we'd done a lot of experimenting and researching, but it wasn't something that we'd done, especially not commercially. But it was one of those ones where, when somebody's eyes light up, and it was just literally a case of like, Alan was just kind of like, ooh, I like the idea of this. I think this could be a good idea. And I kind of knew it would work because he's got a really good palate. And he's very much one of those kind of people that if you give him a process, he can kind of work it out.
Right.
Me, haven't got a clue. I mean, it's like, I was at the point where I couldn't do a roast dinner because I couldn't keep all the timings sort of right.
Sound like my husband.
But Alan was definitely one of these ones where, he could break it down and kind of look at it. So I kind of didn't think he would have too many sort of issues on that side of things. So we sent him off to Brew Lab in Sunderland, where he did a 3-day brewing course. So it was like a crash intensive course. And he sat, and I don't know how many books he read. We've got so many brewing books in our house now, it's ridiculous, because he just literally was trying to absorb any information that he could. We got a bit of advice from people who had been brewing locally and retired. So they came and kind of like, we sat there with like, notepads and everything. And we just thought, right, okay, we'll give it a go and see what happens. So we got a very small kit. It was a 2.5 barrel kit, which meant that we could produce 10 casks,
right,
each time we brewed. And it went really well. And we kind of ended up at a point where we just didn't have space. I mean, the spinners itself is small. The back of the spinners is even smaller. So it was becoming difficult to kind of do it. Because originally we thought, we'll brew for the pub and anything that's left over will sell out.
What was the first beer you brewed?
The first one we did was Flaxen,
right?
Which we still do, which is actually, weirdly enough, what Alan is brewing today.
Okay.
But we called it Jan. Obviously, it was our very first one. We did that one first. We did oatmeal stout second, which again we're still doing. And then the third one was Fungold, which is the one that kind of like I think everybody knows us for now, being made famous in the Mike Craven books.
I was going to say, you've got a bit of fame and fortune there in the books.
Yes, I'm kind of hoping when it goes on TV we'll get a bit of product placement.
I hope so.
I'm hoping he writes it into. I hope he writes it into any contract. But I mean, that was phenomenal. That was just. I got a message off him through Facebook, and I'd read some of his books before, and he was kind of like, you won't mind if I. It was like a screenshot of his computer screen, and he was like, you wouldn't mind if I put it in the book. And it's like, oh yeah, I'd be absolutely, that's absolutely terrible, and it was just kind of like, oh my god, I was just so excited, because I love crime fiction anyway, so it was kind of, that was just icing on the cake. That was just brilliant. And I think it's been in every single one ever since.
I think so. Big fan of Mike Craven's books. For anyone who hasn't read any of Mike Craven's books, then we recommend them.
Oh, absolutely.
Our Crown Book Club love them. Big fans in our Crown Book Club as well.
They're very black.
They're getting a bit darker as well.
Yeah, they are quite dark, but I mean, he's got a very dark sense of humour. But they are. They're absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, the first ones, I think everyone was reading them to see if they recognised themselves in it. So you knew straight away that you were definitely featuring.
Yeah, well, I think it was the second one he brought us into. I don't think we were in the first one, but. Apparently, and I haven't actually checked to see whether this is right or not, but he did a series before this one that he's got sort of well known for, with Alison Fluke as his hero. And apparently when the books got brought into his publisher, he had to re-edit them for them. So he had been drinking Newcastle Brown, so he's gone back and changed all those. So he's drinking Swangold as well. So it's like,
excellent.
We like this. So celebrity endorsement.
Absolutely. Very good.
But so a few of the older, the ones that we did first of all, we are still brewing. I mean, obviously over the years they've been sort of slightly tweaked and improved, and that. But in essence they're still.
So you moved as well from the Spinner's Arms.
We did. So as I say, about 18. Well, would it be 18 months after starting at the Spinners, we suddenly realised that it was too small. So we ended up expanding up onto Kingstown, which is where we are now.
Okay.
So we quadrupled the size of the plant.
Right.
So we now produce, every time we brew, we do 40 casks.
Right. That was the question I was just about to ask you there.
Yeah. So it's fairly substantial. I think it's 1,600 gallons of beer. I think it is something like that.
Yeah. No small feat.
No, it's interesting. It is interesting. I mean, we're still probably not at capacity. We're still small, as I say. It's still us. But I think the fact that we're still here, you know, and it's obviously, you know, what is it, 12 years later? You know, considering we've gone through another recession, we've gone through COVID, we've gone through flooding. That was the best one. I honestly sometimes think I'm a Jonah. we moved up to Kingstown, and we obviously had quite a bit of work to do to get the place to look, you know, how we needed it to, in order to sort of brew in it. So we had a lot of, you know, there's a bit of building work to do. There's a bit of sort of like, you know, drainage work and all the rest of it. We got all that sorted. We were there ready, and it's like, right, here we go. And then the floods hit. And we had customers who had casks bobbing around in their cellars. We had customers who didn't reopen after that. We had a few, obviously, you know, part of that expansion was we needed more customers. And obviously everybody just went battening down the hatches. We're not taking on anybody new. We're just sticking with what we've got because we don't know what's going to happen. So it was, we've had a few challenges.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, it's been an interesting few years. I think it's that whole Chinese proverb, isn't it? Of may you live in interesting times, and it's not actually a good thing. But we're still here, we're still brewing.
Still here, still brewing.
And still supplying fantastic customers like yourselves.
Thank you.
So no, we've, you know, things are going okay.
Good. Yeah, good.
And obviously still got the pub.
Yeah.
Yeah. Still got more grey hairs, but you know. We get there eventually.
So is beer your drink of choice?
It is actually, yeah.
It is, yeah.
Alan's a Geordie. I don't know whether I'm saying this as if this is going to mean sort of anything, but he was brought up in that kind of traditional sort of drinking sort of. He'd go out with his dad and his uncle and his cousins. One night a week, he'd be out with his mates, obviously all the rest of the time. And I actually met him. We were just babies. So I was 18, he was 17. The first time we met, and we then met again, sort of about a year, maybe about a year later. And when we eventually started sort of going out, we'd go out together, and I was a vodka, lime and lemonade girl. You know, I mean, it was
big
just,
difference.
Yeah, it was just one of those things. But when I went out, if he was going to the bar, he'd come back with a bottle of Newcastle Brown Ale for me. Yeah. And it was literally a case of if I wanted anything else,
you had to go yourself.
I had to go myself, because he just by the end of the night he wasn't going to ask for what I wanted. So I just started. It was like, okay, I'll just start drinking it. So I actually started drinking Newcastle Brown. Again,
don't see very much of that nowadays.
No, you don't. It's changed anyway. It's not brewed in the same place or to the same, probably even the same recipe. But no, I sort of started sort of drinking beer, and it's one of those things you've got to get a taste. You get the taste for it.
Yeah, you do. You've
got to educate.
When I started in pubs, it was something I'd never touched. I was not a beer drinker at all. My husband's probably more of a lager drinker, so even that was completely out of my experience. But you get used to it, and you have to understand it. And then now I would choose to drink it. Not all the time, but I do like.
Yeah, I mean it's obvious. I mean, obviously I do drink other things. I mean, send me out for a night on cocktails, and I'm more than happy. Yeah, got a very sweet tooth, so yeah. No, I'm quite happy on that side. But yeah, if we go out, then I'm definitely. I'm definitely on beer rather than anything else. But yeah, so I mean, we started, obviously, we sort of went down that route, and then I don't know how we ended up sort of like moving into the real ales, but we just did. Yeah. So we used to do the beer festivals, and we used to, I mean, basically holidays for us when we were growing up. was camping.
Yeah.
So it would literally be, we'd be there with the camera good beer guide and sort of like, right, okay, we're going to Derbyshire, right, we're going to stop in that campsite and we've got those, those pubs. So, sort of various areas we'd know where the really good real ale pubs were and we'd go around trying different beers and that kind of thing. Absolutely.
You see, I'm very lucky because I've got Trevor at the Milburn, who is obviously a big ale fan. So he keeps me right. He kind of knows what he thinks I would like and what I'm not sure about. So every time I go in, he's got something. When he's got something new on, he's pushing it at me. Try this, try that. So he's pushed me into a few things that I wouldn't have probably tasted or tried before. So he's really good to have. So anyone who's not sure about ales, go to the Milburn. Trevor will tell you. He'll get you something that you like.
Absolutely. I think this is the thing, though. It's kind of like, there's a lot of people out there who'll just go, I don't like beer.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, fair enough, it can be an acquired taste at times, but nowadays especially, I think when I started drinking, I'm...
We'll bleep that out.
Well, maybe not mention how long I've been drinking for, but it's been a few decades. But when I started drinking, even when I was drinking beer, there was obviously a lot of beer out there, but there were a lot of the same types of beer. And now it's just...
it's phenomenal.
The range is amazing. And as much as we'll probably never be the kind of brewery that makes sours or fruit beers or anything like that, I think Alan just doesn't really have the interest in going down that. Never say never, because but it's not his
next
taste.
Week, well, next year we'll have you in with your new, whatever it is, summer.
I can't see it.
He's heard this. He's going to take up the challenge now.
Probably, but I think that's the thing. I think he likes the challenge. He likes a recipe that he can sort of. Again, it's going back to the process, of working out how to do it. I don't think, as I say, it would be something that we do on our own. He's really enjoying playing with all the new hops that that you can get access to and all the rest of it. But I think, as I say, when we were growing up, I tended to head to sort of certain styles of beers. I quite like the pales and the light beers, but actually, as I've got sort of slightly older and doing the beer festivals, especially where you can literally go around and sort of try as many different kinds. We start off, not so much now, but when we used to go to them, we'd sit with the booklet and we'd grade them and mark them and sort of say, this is really nice, never going to drink that one again in my life. And then by the end of the night, you just can't read what you've written. So, it was fairly pointless doing it to start off with, but it did give you an idea. But I kind of moved over to the dark side. So I really, now for me, because I tend to like sweeter beers, I tend to go for the darker side.
I must admit, I love a porter. I can't drink a lot of them, but I love
the lighter. They can be a little bit lighter than the stouts. But this is the thing. We sort of did the oatmeal. We did the oatmeal stout, and for me, it's just I could think quite a few of those, to be honest with you. But I've had the odd night where we've gone out in town. And I've been really, really lucky in that, we've gone around a few different pubs and they've all had a different dark beer on it. It's just been like, this is amazing. So, for me, there is a lot more sort of darker beers out there, which is absolutely fantastic. But hot sunny day, you can't really go wrong with a nice pale.
No. I agree with that. Absolutely. Yeah,
Totally.
definitely. What's your most popular beer?
I'd say the one that we sell the most of is the Cumbrian Bitter. I think because a lot of our other pubs that we supply are food-led pubs. It tends to be a nice sort of light session beer if somebody's driving out. I sell a lot of beer. We sell a lot of beer into the Lake District now, so it tends to be that people are driving. It's a lovely beer anyway. So I'm not going to it's obviously got more to do with it than anything else, but I think it is just that it's that light, easy drinking session beer. In bottle, Spun Gold still is up there, although I have to be fair and say Crusty Peeves sort of crawling up there now.
Coming up.
And we actually started doing a Kolsch style lager, our border beer, which we do in bottle sort of for everybody else, but we actually we've been trying kegs It's not something that we do for everybody else, so we keg it and have it on at the Spinners. It's the only place you can, quick advert.
Only place you
can get it on draft. That may change eventually, but as I say, it's just something that we're sort of dipping our toe in the water with.
Because tastes change, don't they? You know, you can see people's tastes changing even in the time I've been in the pub. So yeah, I presume you have to keep ahead of that really, and just be keeping an eye on what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, it's like any business, really. You know, people, you know, tastes change, and what people, you know, sort of are after. I mean, the Guinness thing's a perfect example. Yeah. So when that, I mean, I don't know what you were like here, but we could not get hold of Guinness for love nor money for a while. And we fortunately had a batch of our oatmeal stout on. So it was literally just a case of I had a sign in front of my Guinness that just kind of went, can't get hold of this, but why not try our oatmeal stout? And okay, it wasn't cold and it wasn't, you know, sort of like, it didn't have the, you know, the gas in it that that Guinness has, but you know, we converted quite a few people over. You know, sort of, I think people suddenly realise that there are other stouts out there, but it's
and I think that is part of the issue with cask. Is that I think people come into the pub, and especially now when money is tighter, you know, you come in and you know that you're having 1, 2, 3 pints. That's it. That's your lot. So people are maybe a little bit reticent to try something new in case they don't like it, in case they waste it. So they kind of stick there. But I think, you know, hopefully we're getting over that.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of, I mean, obviously, you know, as far as the real ales are concerned, you know, any pub who knows about real ale and knows, you know, what they're doing, if you ask for a taster,
we'll always give tasters.
You know, we're the same. I mean, I can't think of any pub now that would actually refuse. But I mean, okay, it's not, you're not going to get the full sort of like, you know, what you would get after a half or a pint of it, but at least you've got that. And you know, a lot of pubs do the flights now. You can get the
very few people ever will come in and ask. I mean, we tend, our bar staff will say, would you like to try it? But I think people, you know, so anyone who wants to try it, come in and ask. I'm more than happy to let you have a taste. I'd rather people had a taste and tried something
and then
new.
Especially if they realise they don't like it. You know, I mean, you know,
it's nothing worse than sitting with something that you really chewing your way through because you don't like it.
You know, I mean, and obviously, I mean, you know, from a business point of view, you don't want that for your customers. Either you want them to be happy with what they're drinking, because if they're happy, they'll come back to you. So it's, you know, it makes sense. But yeah, it's. I think this is it. It's there are so many different sort of beers out there, and I think when we took over the Spinners, well, not so much when we took over. It would have been. There was only one hand pull on when we moved in. We rapidly moved it up to 2, and you know, we got a few people coming in, and it was kind of like, you know, so what's your regular beer going to be? And we were kind of like, we're not going to have a regular. We're going to change them over. There might be ones that appear more often. I mean, this was before we were brewing our own. Because obviously now we're at a point where the only hand pulls, you know, the only beer we have on hand pull, you know, is ours. But we sort of like, you know, and they were a bit kind of like, oh, but you know, we won't. And it was like, the whole idea of real ale is that you get to try different things, and you know, if you don't like something, then you know there's going to be another one. You know, and the idea, and I kind of get that. You know, we get a lot of people who, you know, they wanted to stick to John Smith's because they know that they're going to get a John Smith's in our pub is pretty much going to be the same as a John Smith's in any other pub. So they know, you know, or Guinness or whichever brand
it is,
you know, sort of that you wanted to have. Whereas there's a little bit more risk with the real ales at times. But to be fair, it's really nice for us because we obviously rotate our hand pulls depending on what we've got brewed. And people will come in and it's like, oh, I haven't seen that for ages. You haven't brewed that for ages. And, you know, or you'll get when are you going to brew this again? When are you going to brew that again? And there are certain beers that we have done that Alan really wants to do again, but they're the really strong, really hoppy ones. And selling out a full batch of it sometimes can be interesting. You know, especially when, you know, I mean, obviously, as I say, a lot of our customers are sort of, you know, pubs that are driven to. So when you do a 5.6,
you'll be able to sell it to Trevor. He'll take some.
God, yeah.
He'll take some.
Absolutely.
I mean, our walls are just getting covered with the range of beers that we've had on, and you know, it started off in a little corner. Now it's a full wall. It's now gone round the corner.
I saw the Facebook post the other day. Actually, I mean, it's fantastic. You know, I mean, if you've got the kind of pub where you can do that, and as I say, that was what we were like at the Spinners before before we set up our own. It was great. It was.
And the other thing I think that's important, and I'm sure you'll reiterate this, is that obviously cask is the only fresh product in our bar.
Yep.
And so it has to be kept and maintained properly. And that drives me mad if I go in somewhere and it's not. That just gives beers a bad name.
I always had the thing with cask ale that we get customers who come in because we've got a good reputation for cask ale. They know then that the cellar's looked after and that all the beers are going to be looked after.
Yeah.
So it's one of those ones where, if you go in and, obviously, again, from a business point of view, if you've got a group of people and a couple of them are real ale drinkers, they'll tend to be the ones that pick the pub.
Yeah.
But the others are more than happy to come along because, as I say, they know that, if their friends are happy with the cask ale that they're drinking, then, everything else is going to be tip top. It tends to be sort of if you go in somewhere and the cask's not right or it's been served, when it's like, the cask's way over its time limit and you know that and you kind of think, well, the rest of it's going to
not be so good.
Not be quite right, really.
No, it's got to be good. It's got to be right. So we're good on we're good at that.
Yeah.
Again, so killer question. So apart from your own beers, what would you choose? What's your favourite beer?
Oh God. It depends on the time. It depends on the time of day. It depends. I don't know.
What do you have in the morning then, Alison, when you wake up?
What's my breakfast beer? Oh God, no, it has to be tea. It's got to be Yorkshire tea all day long. Do you know something? There's so many out there that it's really difficult. I mean, I guess the one that got me onto dark beers, and I presume they're still doing it, but obviously I know it's all changed hands. But it was Hawkshead Dry Stone Stout.
Oh, right.
That was the one that just, it was just lovely. And it was one of those ones, as I say, where I was really kind of like, not 100% sure that I'm going to go for this because it's a dark beer. And it was like, oh, that is really nice. And that was kind of the one that sent me off. Sort of
try others.
Yeah, looking for others. But I don't know, there are so many good beers out there now, and so many good breweries.
Yeah.
That it tends to just be a case of, if it sounds interesting, I have to say, I was saying about Alan before, I can't do sours. I can't wrap my head or tongue around them, I suppose. But
you see something you think, that sounds interesting.
Sounds lovely.
I did the fatal mistake once of getting a pint of it and I felt sick as a dog after.
So we started this by saying that independent breweries only actually hold about 10% of the drinks beer market at the moment. And I was trying to find out if there was a way that people out there could find out if they were supporting small independent breweries. So the good news is that SEBA, which is a small independent brewery association,
something like that,
have a website. They do Indie Beer Week, which is just past. I think it was in April.
Yeah, around then.
Around about April. But they do a beer week every year. But they also have a really good website. So Indie Beer, it's called. And if you go on there is a check tool.
We'll put a link somewhere.
So
website somewhere
on there, there'll be a link. Okay, so there's a checker tool. So you can actually go on, and I checked out Alison before she came, just in case she secretly had been sold off to one of the big breweries and hadn't told us. And she's on there. So if wherever you are in the country, whether you're living there or on holiday, you can check out where your small independent breweries are and look up some of their beers. So Indie Beer. So I think that pretty much wraps us up.
That's been great.
Alison, before we finish, is there anything you want to say to people about beer and
just keep drinking?
Sounds like great advice.
Obviously with I forgot what the hell the disclaimer is that comes across the bottom. Drink responsibly, but keep drinking. Just support local. Support your local. Support your local brewery. Support your local pub.
Yeah.
I've always said it's one of those things that everybody knows if you don't use it, you're going to lose it.
Yeah.
I think the proof's in the pudding. There are so many pubs now that are struggling and are closing. And, you know, you don't have to go in and spend an absolute fortune. Pop in, have a coffee, have a pint. Just even that makes a massive difference. You know, even if you're once a month regular. It doesn't have to be once a week, it doesn't have to be once a day. Just keep using them. The more people who do, the more likely we are to still be here when you really, really need us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well said. Well,
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Cheers again. And thank you to our first official guest, Alison from Carlisle Brewing Co.
It can only get better from here.
We're going to enjoy the rest of these now. So
and we'll see you next time.
Bye.